Shit, wait. I'm feeling a little heavy. I gotta drop off some of this baggage. What even is this stuff? Who needs it? I don't need it. I'm feeling a lot lighter now. I should be able to take on this boss. Yep. Welcome back to Real Trap Builds. Today I've got another certified Rafa Blue Tree banger. And as you can see from the intro, the bossing capabilities of this build are not very gear dependent. There's a whole lot of freedom with this setup. All you really need is the right underbarrel and the right skill tree. It also works in UVHM. I've only gotten to UVHM 1, but to give the build more credit, the gameplay you're seeing now is of the big Encore boss, which has a whole lot of health, and it gets shredded all the same. Let's get right into it. The core of this build is a shocking underbarrel, and the most synergistic ones that I've come across are the flat-off taser and the order tether snare. The tether snare does not tell you that it's shock, but as you can see, it sure is. The beam tosser is also very nuts. It's pretty rare though. I haven't been blessed with one since level 28. The thing with it is close range, because it's a slow-moving projectile, but if you can get up close and personal on a boss, it will absolutely shred. If you were to find one, again, you'd want it to be shock. So there's a few key skills that we're spec'd into that make us want our underbarrel to be shock and make us want an underbarrel. In the first place, starting off the bottom left, we have Awe, which is whenever Rafa shocks an enemy, all shots fired at that enemy are critical hits, and this works with all the damage from the underbarrels that I just showed you. Then we have Fiesta, which is whenever Rafa applies a status effect, his action skills consume no duration, and APOPHIS Lance consumes no charges. Thirdly, we have Metal Management, which is whenever Rafa activates or retriggers an action skill, his gun consumes no ammo for a duration. So if you're capturing the loop here, we activate our action skill, we get unlimited underbarrel ammo because this skill works with underbarrels. We are then shooting a shock underbarrel at a boss, causing it to become shocked, which then makes all the damage critical. And then because we're applying a status effect with an underbarrel, it freezes our action skill and allows us to use APOPHIS Lance as much as we want, which feeds back into Metal Management, giving us unlimited ammo. So as long as we are applying a status effect, we have unlimited underbarrel ammo and unlimited action skill usage. And with this synergy alone, any boss usually just falls over and dies, but we're going to get into the rest of the tree. Before I get into the rest of the skill tree, I want to talk about the specializations that I'm built into. I don't really care about Brute and Sharpshooter. I'm really only built into those two to get down to Killer because of this perk here, Contamination, which is critical hits for an increased status effect application chance. Our shock underbarrels will be proccing Awe, making all of their damage crit, making them more likely to apply a shock status effect. And this combined with the perk beneath it, which makes it so that enemies take increased damage for each status effect applied to them, makes us do a lot of damage. If you weren't aware, in this game, you can apply multiple instances of the same status effect. So even though we're only shooting shock at a boss, we have a lot of instances of shock status effects on that boss, and all of them are contributing to this. And so it's just like, as it's described, as it's named, it is a compounding affliction. I was shredding bosses before I was spec'd into Killer here, but obviously these are very synergistic with the build, and seemingly it's like a new form of damage potential in the damage formula, so it should be contributing quite a bit. Starting from the top with our skill tree, we've got fire rate here, and this also gives us a little bit more fire rate when we're in overdrive. We're going to be in overdrive a lot since we have the unlimited action skill synergy, and this will allow us to shoot off more underbarrels. Below it, we've got kill skill that gives us ordnance cooldown rate, which leads directly into a Bajo, which gives us a faster action skill cooldown rate, which we want because we're not always going to be perfect. Sometimes we're going to run out of our action skill. And also in mobbing, it's harder to get the unlimited synergy going. So we want action skill cooldown rate, and that's why we're built into this augment here, which pretty much is just when we use APOPHIS Lance, we're going to get increased action skill cooldown rate. Down here, we've got Jock, which is whenever we damage an enemy with our action skill, we're going to get increased overdrive bonuses, and those overdrive bonuses are damage and movement speed. So it's just a nice skill to have. Since we're going to have unlimited action skill, we're just going to get this for free, pretty much. Below it is a skill that directly links to it. Depending on how many Jock stacks we have when our action skill ends, they will be converted into action skill cooldown rate, which combined with a Baho and this augment means we get our action skill back very fast. One of the cool things about Jacques is it'll actually buff any overdrive skill that we're spec'd into. I've got it active right now, and if you look closely at the Thrill, it previously said plus 10% fire rate while overdrive is active, and now it says plus 15%. So it's only given us 5%, but I think it's still a worthwhile spec because it's buffing our normal overdrive bonuses, plus the Thrill, plus this gun damage skill that I'm going to talk about later. So overall, it's doing quite a bit for us. Because we have 10 points down in this this tree at the bottom right, we're able to spec into the Project Gorgon Capstone, which is a change from my last build. I was using the Taser, but I got pretty sick of the Taser because it's close range and it's pretty obnoxious to use. Because our underbarrels are giving us shock damage for awe, we don't need the shock damage from our action skill. And Project Gorgon has a long range, so it's a lot easier to proc Jacques. This is what Project Gorgon looks like. It has seemingly infinite range. Very long range on this guy. And here is what Project Raiju looks like. As you can see, the range is a whole lot more limited, and we stop damaging relatively close to enemies. It's mostly personal preference, though. I'm also partially opting out of the Taser because of some gear that I have that makes it easier for me to proc all outside of my action skill, but I'll get into that in a bit. For the rest of the skill tree, we're built into Conductivo and El Catrine just to get down to Awe and Fiesta here. Conductivo gives us status effect chance, further increased shock chance, obviously synergistic. El Catrine gives us increased crit damage when we slide, and bonus shock damage on our action skills when we slide, which actually helps us get around the fact that we don't have shock damage on Project Gorgon. The thing with El Catrine, though, is that it's pretty obnoxious to slide all the time, so I really only use this for the bonus crit damage. Hey, so I unfortunately only realized now that I was mispronouncing this skill throughout the entire video. It's actually Hake because he is Spanish, not French. So there's some trivia for you. I've been specifically avoiding the last two skills that I haven't talked about yet because there's some more that I want to say about them. First, we've got First Impression, which is the first shot fired from a fully loaded magazine, gains increased gun damage. This one works pretty funkily with underbarrels. You can see the perk at the bottom left there. When I shoot, it goes away, as you would expect. I reload, it comes back. It doesn't consider underbarrel magazines, though. It only considers the normal fire mode. So, as you can see, it does not go away as I shoot this underbarrel, which makes it pretty easy to get that gun damage boost. Further funkiness with this skill, it doesn't work with COV magazines, and unfortunately my Vladoff Taser rolled with the COV magazine. You can see that I don't have the perk at the bottom left, even though I haven't shot it. I've still melted bosses with this gun, so I guess you don't exactly need 50% gun damage, but we obviously would prefer to have it, so try to get your weapons without COV mags. Finally, we've got El Soldado, which gives us extra gun damage in overdrive and doubles the bonus when we're charging APOPHIS Lance. And you don't technically have to be charging APOPHIS Lance because we're using a capstone that makes APOPHIS Lance a duration. You can just tap, and then during that duration, you'll be getting that extra gun damage bonus. Hake also buffs this skill, and because it buffs our overdrive skills by 50% at max stacks, this will be 45% in overdrive, and then when we're charging APOPHIS Lance, we're going to get a mean 90% gun damage from this skill. I was planning on demonstrating all this, but it's pretty difficult because there's no photo mode, and it's hard to get good visuals of damage numbers. But just I can assure you, I've done the testing. When you have Project Gorgon active and you have 20 stacks of Hake, you are getting 90% gun damage from El Soldado. So to demonstrate the bossing loop, we're first going to want to make sure that our normal fire mode is fully reloaded for that gun damage boost from First Impression. Then we're going to swap into our underbarrel. Then we'll pop our action skill. And when we pop our action skill, we're going to have unlimited underbarrel ammo for 2 seconds. So we're going to shoot off as much as we can. That'll apply a shock status effect, which will make the underbarrel damage critical. And that'll also freeze our action skill and allow us to use it as much as we want. We're going to want to use it as much as we can to get Hake stacks up to 20, and also to get that extra gun damage boost from El Soldado. It's pretty simple. It sounds complicated when I explain it for 8 minutes, but when you do it, it's pretty simple. And then the tether snare, funnily, I don't really know why it does this. It seems to be bugged, but it creates like a beam from heaven. So that's fun. When it comes to my gear, as I already showed, I've got 3 pretty nasty underbarrels. Then I'm using the Hot Slugger, which is an absolutely disgusting Jacob shotgun. Does so much damage. You can get it from this mine right here called the Craven's Nook. And the Hot Slugger is primarily what I'm using for mobbing because I have an absolutely disgusting grenade for this build. Like I said, the bossing isn't very gear dependent, but mobbing kind of is. I got this grenade at level 20. I haven't found a better replacement since. The reason why it's so good is because it shocks everything, and that synergizes obviously very well with awe. So I just throw my grenade out and shoot the Hot Slugger, and every shot is a crit, and it reflects everywhere, and it's disgusting. And this is what that looks like. I just throw out my grenade, shoot the Hot Slugger, and everything dies. And then because I'm spec'd into that 1 kill skill, that gives me ordnance cooldown rate. I get my ordnance back very fast. Half the time while I'm mobbing, I don't even pop my action skill. I totally should. But, like, you kind of don't need to with this gun because it does so much damage. The infinite ammo skill also isn't, like, super good with this, just because the reload speed on it is already so fast. And the fire rate's kind of slow. So, I mean, you end up shooting at about the same pace. You can kind of do whatever you want with mobbing. I would just recommend shock somewhere, so you're getting easy crits. Obviously, Jacobs is good with a crit build as well. You could take a note from my last video where I was just kind of running around with infinite underbarrels. That works too, but that works better with the taser because, you know, it's going to be shocking stuff. Just find yourself a nice legendary and a good source of shock, and you'll be having a good time. For the rest of my gear, I've got a rep kit that's giving me action skill cooldown rate. I don't really care about the amp damage here since, you know, in our bossing setup, we're just spamming underbarrels. I think I'd prefer, like, maybe splash damage works on these underbarrels. I'm not sure. I'm sure it works on some. Fire rate would be cool. There are a lot of better perks here that I prefer over amp. I just like this one because it's got a low cooldown rate. Again, my grenade is nuts. If you can find this grenade, I'm very happy for you. For my class mod, I'm still running the same one that I was running in my last video, the Philanthropo, which gives me a free grenade every 4 seconds when I'm using APOPHIS Lance. I'm pretty much only using this because of how good my grenade is. If I didn't have a grenade this good, then I might use the Buster class mod, which gives me a chance to not consume an APOPHIS Lance charge when I'm using it. That class mod would work quite well with this build as well. I just like this one, again, because this is very synergistic when it gets thrown out. It shocks everything, which gives me free crits and pauses my action skill. The class mod that I'm using now comes from the Vault and the Fade fields, which is the Arch of Inceptus, and then the Buster class mod comes from the Arch of Origo. When it comes to my shield, I'm just running a survivability shield that you can get from the Timekeeper. It is absolutely nuts. I'm not built into survivability anywhere else in this build, and this shield alone keeps me alive, so I would recommend it. And then for my enhancement, it's just giving me some extra bonus damage on the Slugger for mobbing, because I'm always hitting crits because of my grenade. It's also got some nice passives for bossing, giving me sniper rifle damage and gun status effect chance, which is helpful for the Order Tether Snare. When it comes to firmware, I am currently spec'd into Googeffuck, which is what I like to call it, and Deadeye. Googeffuck doesn't really matter. Like 2 stacks doesn't really matter since we're not really doing much damage with our action skill. 1 stack is nice though, gives you action skill cooldown rate. Deadeye though, I'm really trying to get to that 3rd stack. I can't find it for the life of me. The 1st stack's kind of cringe. The 2nd stack's good, free crit damage, and then that 3rd stack, just like up to 75% bonus critical damage, is absurd. And I would recommend this for this build, probably for any build, really. When it comes to firmware and gear, though, again, as you saw in the beginning of the video, I took it all off, and I still shredded a boss, so just find the best stuff that works for you. Couple final notes. I know that you can do some pretty crazy stuff with the perfectly rolled kickballer, and I know that it comes in shock, so that would work pretty well in this build. And then if you wanted to do like an ordnance damage type thing, a friendly viewer named Gore sent in a video of him shredding a boss using the firebomb with the setup from my last video, so that could fit in pretty nicely. The core of this build is just unlimited underbarrels, shooting at a boss, and mobbing if you want as well. Beyond that, again, you can just kind of do whatever you want. There's a lot of freedom here. But hey, thanks for watching. Get out there and start spamming those underbarrels, baby.